Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Drawing Science. In today's episode, we are going to learn to draw the West Indian Manatee. Alright, so let's get started. Right from the start, I'm going to say again, I'm going to use this blue pencil, and this is because I'm working digitally, and this is going to be like your light pencil drawings if you're working traditionally that you can erase. But I'm going to do it in blue just so you can kind of see where my guidelines are and stuff like that. All right, so the manatee. Manatees are these really cool marine mammals. There are several species that live around the world, but the West Indian manatee is found in Florida and parts of the Caribbean, sort of around Central America, down that far. In Florida, we have a subspecies called the Florida manatee, and then the Antillean manatee is what you find further south. There's also, if you go into South America, there's the Amazonian manatee. All right, let's get started. And I'm going to start with an oval, but this oval is kind of going to be on an angle, maybe like about a 45-degree angle-ish. And then I'm going to draw a circle below my oval. You see, this is not a perfect circle. It doesn't matter. This is just a guideline to kind of help you figure out where things go. I'm going to do another circle now. This one's going to be in the top right part of my oval. Just like this. There we go. And then, now this is going to be the snout of the manatee, if you hadn't guessed. And I'm going to give our manatee some flippers. They have two flippers. They are mammals, but they still have flippers. And it's going to be kind of a curved line, like this. And then I'm going to bring this back, kind of curve it around like that. So if you're not used to drawing flippers and that sort of thing, one thing I recommend you do is just practice some flipper shapes. You know, get another piece of paper or work on the side. Just get those curves down, because this is really going to sell your manatee drawing, is getting those little subtle curves and stuff in the flipper. Now we've got two flippers here, so I got to get the other one in there, kind of curves around. And the cool thing about manatees is that because they are mammals, they have all the bones in here that you and I have in our arms and our hands. They've got the finger bones, all that stuff in there, and they almost look like little gripping flippers, and they even have little toenails on there. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now, I mentioned there are manatees in South America, and then the West Indian manatee throughout the Caribbean, parts of the Caribbean, and Central America, and then also up in Florida and other southern parts of the United States. There are also manatees in Africa, the West Indian manatee, which is a lot like our manatee here. And then if you go to the Australia area, you find something called the dugong, which has a tail like a dolphin rather than a manatee, which is the next part we're going to draw on our manatee. And this is how we're going to do it. So we've got this oval here. I'm going to connect it to this circle with these curved lines. And then this is going to be the base of our tail. Now, manatees don't have a round tail like this, so we're going to have to cut into this here. Give it this sort of flipper shape or paddle shape at the end. There's our manatee tail right there. And then we're going to work on the schnoz up here. So this is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it's kind of a triangle shape, but it's very round. Look how round it is up at the top. And then the bottom, I'm actually going to give it a little bowed in area here. Okay, this is our manatee schnoz. And then down below, there's going to be a little lower jaw. And then the eyes are going to be here and here. And I might actually raise those a little bit. Manatees have small eyes, little bitty tiny eyes. They don't rely heavily on vision because they are herbivores. So they're going to eat seagrasses and algae. You don't need good vision when you're hunting seagrass. It doesn't move very fast, so it's easy to find with other senses. And that's what manatees rely on. They can see, just not real well. They are, like I said, mammals, so they are air breathers. They have to come up to the surface to get air. And this is one of the problems for the manatees. They were listed as endangered as recently as last year in 2016. And they became considered vulnerable in 2017, early 2017. So they were like threatened, endangered before that. And their population seems to be increasing, but they still need a lot of protection and help. And their biggest threat to manatees is boat traffic. Because when they're coming up to get air, they're slow moving, they're pretty casual, laid back animals, and these, if boats are going too fast, they don't see them, they just hit them. And I can tell you, when you see manatees in Florida, unfortunately, it's rare to see one that doesn't have the big telltale white scars on its back from being hit by a boat at some point in its life. It's very unfortunate, but can be avoided. Just got to be careful when you're in manatee areas. Now, this manatee needs some nostrils. Going to give it some nostrils here. We'll emphasize these more when we start using our pencil, and we'll put some more details in, which is what we're going to do next. So this is the part where you would start drawing a little bit heavier. I'm just going to switch to my kind of dark gray color here to emphasize that those darker lines. And we're going to give our manatee some of its line work, more permanent line work, and throw in some detail. So I'm mostly just tracing over these lines that I drew, but I'm picking the ones that I think are going to be the most accurate to my manatee drawing. So whenever you do these tutorials with me, I encourage you to look at some pictures of the real animals when you're doing it. Don't go just by my drawing. See what they look like so you get a feel for where some of these lines go, and practice drawing from some of those photographs as well. Now, our schnoz on our manatee, going to have that big shape here. You know, like here's a good example. I kind of raised my schnoz up a little bit from my original drawing, and I brought this line down a little bit because it was just looking a little too bowed up. But if I didn't know what a manatee looked like, I wouldn't necessarily know to do that. So I'm going to put those little tiny manatee eyes in there. And here's a cool pro tip for manatees. They have lots of wrinkles on them, and their eyes always have these sort of star pattern wrinkles there. Helps to make it look more like a manatee. Their nostrils, I usually like to draw them like almost little apostrophes here. Color that in. They also have vibrissae, which is the fancy word for whiskers. Put those in there. Give it a little lower jaw. Now, in that lower jaw are the manatee teeth, which are 2 rows of molars, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. And here's a cool fact about manatees. When they are chewing on their seagrass, they tend to grind down those teeth. There's a lot of sand and grit. And that's okay, because as the teeth get worn down, the ones up front get worn down the most because they've been in their mouth the longest, they fall out. And then the manatee has like a conveyor belt of new teeth being grown in the back, and they just keep pushing forward and regenerating those teeth. Pretty cool. Wish I had that trick going for me. All right, now I'm going to give our manatee its little part of its chest here. We'll do our flipper while we're here. See how I'm kind of refining the lines as I go through? This is why you want those guidelines. You know, this is just your rough guidelines. Then when I go through and do these, I can really pick out what I like. And, you know, you could do multiple versions. Like you could go through again with a light pencil and do this, and then again, or if you want to go through with ink at the end, you can have multiple attempts to get your lines just the way you want them. All right, now we're going to give our manatee his little gut down here. And here's kind of a misleading thing about manatees. They do look, I mean, they're called sea cows, is another common name for them. They do look like they're girthy little things, and they are, but unlike other marine mammals, like say dolphins and whales, they don't have a layer of blubber. And this is an important thing to know about manatees, because not having blubber means that they can't tolerate the cold water. Get some wrinkles here where that tail is. And so when the temperature drops below 68 degrees, manatees have to find warmer water, or they'll get pneumonia, they'll get sick, and it can be lethal for them. So what do? Well, here in Florida, they just go into the springs. The freshwater springs here stay 72 degrees Fahrenheit year-round, and that's just warm enough for them. And if you go to one of these springs in the wintertime, especially on a cold day, you will see lots of these manatees if it's a spring that they have access to. There's also some man-made structures that have helped them out. I live in the Tampa area, and there's a place not far from here called Apollo Beach. There's a big power plant there, and one of the byproducts of the power plant is that it creates hot water. And this hot water is a great refuge for manatees. They've even built a manatee viewing center there, which is free, and you can go visit it. And if you go on a cold day, you will literally see hundreds of manatees in there, as well as tarpon and sharks and eagle rays and lots of other cool stuff. So this is a thing that manatees need. They need access to that warm water. This is another potential threat for manatees if those areas are blocked off, that sort of thing. They can't get through. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and erase, in my case just turn the layer off, my blue pencil lines, and I'm going to add some more fine details to my manatee. I'm going to just add some markings up on the back, because when you see manatees, like I said, a lot of them have the scars, which you can add if you want. I'm going to pretend my manatee has never been hit by a boat. It's wishful thinking. But they usually have like algae and stuff built up on them, depending on how long they've been in a freshwater or saltwater area. And that's the thing. They like to spread out in that brackish and salt water during the warmer months, and then they come in, and this is usually when they're in the most danger, is in the colder months. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and give my manatee a little color, just for fun. And the West Indian manatee is pretty much a gray animal. And they are related to elephants. That's their closest mammal relatives, other than other manatees and the dugong. Oh, there was not that long ago in history, there was an animal called the stellar sea cat, which was a dugong, had that dolphin-like tail, but they got huge. Like, oh man, I have to look it up now, and I didn't. I want to say 30, 40 feet long. They were ginormous, and of course they were hunted to extinction several hundred years ago by humans because there were some products they could get from them, and they didn't do it sustainably. No more stellar sea cats, which is a shame, because imagine how cool that would be to see a stellar sea cat. Now, I've given it this kind of gray base color. I'm going to add some shading in here, go with a little bit darker color, and I'm just going to give a little shading underneath the belly, little shadow along the fin, on the edge of the fin here, right under here. This back fin is going to be dark because it's kind of out of view. Now, if you like these videos, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you do a drawing, hey, share it below. I'd love to see what you guys are working on. If you have a request for an animal you'd like to see me draw, let me know that as well. You know, I just want to know what you guys think and how I can make these better and what I can do. If you do like them, also think about subscribing to my channel. That way you'll get notified whenever a new video is posted, and you'll be able to watch and draw all these cool animals. Now up on the back, I'm going to give it a little bit lighter color just for the highlights coming through. Right up here. And I'm going to do this too, just kind of bring some lines down to kind of look like the water, highlights from the water coming through. It's just a quick color, a little bit on the schnoz here. There we go. And then I'm going to give that algae a little bit of a green color, like a dark green coloration here. Just a hint of it. Maybe mix some more of this light gray in here. Now, obviously, if you're not doing this digitally, you're going, well, how am I supposed to color it? Hey, use whatever. Use crayons, use markers, use paint, whatever you got. Experiment, give your manatee some color. You can give it some background, stuff like that. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Thanks again for watching. Like I said, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time.